Okay, let's start. Today's lecture about shutter effect. This is really interesting effect which you can use, for example, for destroying some objects. For example, if you want to create a project to the final with some explosion, you can also add some shutter effect inside. For example, you can create, I have some example here. Just wait a second. Um, this is some idea for your examination work when you can use our tracking workflow and add some explosion and add some shutter glass effect, and you can make something like this. And today we are going to understand how you can shutter any object, and we are going to use some bullet physics for smashing these effects. Also, I can send you some tutorials which you can use in your projects. And let's start. Let's start with watching some works from the previous year, students, and you will understand how you will understand the task with these examples. Wait 1 second. Where is submit? Uh, for the shutter effects, there is different ideas what you can crash. You can crash the wall, you can crash the glass, you can crash even light bulb, for example, with some bullet. You can smash any object you want with using this effect. And this is also for the light bulb idea. You need to render this out as well as as usual. And this example with the wall and some car can smash this wall. And what else? This wall was smashed with some object. There was some really great work with car. Just 1 second, I will find it. This one. You can download some cars from the internet and use this as object. And you can also add some music if you want, some sound effects, and render this out. The workflow is the same. First, we need object, which we are going to smash. We need to create some shutter effect on this object. And after that, by using some bullet physics, you can assign on this object some force and it will break down. This one is also with some sound effects. You can use this as reference. And here is some cars. And as usually, your task is to make some creative video and use your objects for smashing. And this was for the reference. You can smash the glass if you want. Okay, let's begin. In Maya, we have some shutter effect inside, and we are going to use this effect. For professional use, there is some standalone plugins for the shuttering effect, which is called Voronoi shutter, but we are going to use installed in Maya shutter effect. The additional plugins is much better to creating some realistic cracks, but it costs some, and it should be downloaded from the outside. That's why we are going to use just built-in plugins for the shutter effect. Okay, create new file, and inside Maya, let's create a simple cube. Maybe I should check my settings, preferences, because I think in centimeters maybe. Let's keep it in meter because maybe it will be easy for calculating some physics. Okay, from this cube, we can create some wall, and we can go into the effects, and here we have some effects which is called shutter. When we open settings of the shutter effects, we can crack surface shutter, we have solid shutter, and we have crack shutter. I think this crack shutter is work on the planes. This solid shutter creates cracks of the objects and create some inside geometry. Uh, we can uh, we can experiment with any of this shutter and see what is going on. There is no effect in the shutter. Solid shutter, maybe we can use some solid shutter with the count. Let's create. Ah, okay, let's create new cube. Maybe we can go to the centimeters, come back. Okay, let's try again this shutter effect with the solid shutter settings, and this is an error. Ah, every time when we are going to create some shutter effect, we should delete the history, construction history, and let's try again. Now it's can be shutter. Let's wait. Uh, when we delete history before the shutter effect, now it works. And you can see how this cube was shattered. Let's create some preview of the wireframes. And now, if you're using solid shutter, it creates some pieces. And with this yellow material, it means it created new geometry with this yellow material inside. And now we can fix this wall by, if you see this shading um, artifacts, you can use some hard surface. Oh, sorry. In the modeling view, you can use mesh display harden edge. With the harden edge, you can fix these glitches with the shadings. And now we can assign some physics to these cracks. For example, we are going to use some bullet physics. Bullet physics help you to work with the set of rigid geometry. For example, instead of the bullet physics, we can use just simple passive collider. But passive collider not work with the set of the object. And here we have really much pieces and we need to assign some physics on it. That's why we are going to use some bullet physics. If you don't have this bullet physics inside of your shelf, you can go and check in the setting preferences plugin manager. You can type here bullet and you should check uh, is this in this search you have bullet, it should be loaded and after loaded. If it loaded and after loaded, you can find this bullet physics inside of FX menu, inside of the bullet. And here we have some rigid set. And we are going to select any piece of this shattered object and assign some bullet physics on it. And now, if we play, these cracks now have these physics attributes. After that, we can open some settings of this bullet solver. The main settings what we are going to use is inside bullet solver shape. Let's find some settings. I'm looking for some collision components. Here in the bullet rigid set initial state, we have these collision attributes. Because inside of this set, we have different objects, and these objects not box. When we play, it's crashed from outside because of these collision attributes. When we change these attributes to the whole and collision shape margin leave to the zero, now it's not crashed from its side. If you increase this collision margin, it means it's like have collisions, intersections, and that's why it's a blow away. For example, if I play now, this collision shape margin affect on these pieces and they're smashed away from its side. Also, you can use this attribute, for example, if you want to, you can even animate this attribute. For example, if you want to damage your glass, for example, after explosion, maybe you can use this one like a force, for example. When you can, with the timeline, for example, understand in which time you should break the glass, and you can also animate this shape. It's like an, tips and tricks how you can smash the glass. But we are going to smash this wall with some additional object, and that's why we should keep this collision shape to the whole and collision margin to the zero. And after that, we have in the initial conditions, we have glue shapes. For example, these glue shapes help you to stitch these pieces together. For example, If we add some plane and we don't use some glue shapes, our wall can be fall down on the ground and before some objects affect on this wall. That's why if you want to keep this wall still before affecting some object, you can use these glue shapes. And after that we can create some plane. I'm going to put this plane uh, belong really near this wall. Maybe we can even use some small settings with really small gap. And on this plane we should also attach some physics, and we can use some passive rigid body for this plane from the bullet physics as well. And inside of this rigid body shape we also can change some properties for the collision. If we don't change, now it's affecting on this wall because we have some box shape for this plane, and if we change it to the plane and leave this collision shape margin to the 0, now it's still, and we have this wall. This wall moving. Maybe we can leave this plane a little bit down. Okay, then we can use some additional object, for example this sphere, and on this sphere we are going to add some active rigid body. In the active rigid body also we need to change some collision uh, shape type, because now it's cube by the default. We can change to the sphere. If you use for example car has really difficult shape, you should combine this car into the one object and assign some hull for the car, for example, as well, to calculate some collisions, proper collision settings. And also we can skip this margin to the 0. Now it's like this is the active collider, uh, and it's falling down. We can use some kinematic rigid body. Let's try. And in the kinematic rigid body, we can apply some impulse for this sphere. For example, let's try from the 13. It's not work. Okay, maybe we have to add some initial velocity. It's not working. Maybe we can use impulse. It's not working. Okay, let's come back to the dynamic rigid body, and why it's not working. We should go refresh our simulation on the 0, and also let's check we have to play every frame. Okay, let's use some inputs. Maybe we can create again this sphere. active rigid body and sphere for the collisions. Let's play. Now it's work. Let's change impulse on the x-axis and see. Now it's working. Sometimes bullet physics works weird, and if you don't achieve a result like on the tutorials, you should create again, and if you create again, it can be work uh, like like this. Some settings works, some settings not works. Now let's where is I think it goes in the different direction. How it works? Okay, let's again. It just falls down and maybe with some little bit impulse. Now it's goes there. Okay, let's use different directory. It goes up. Okay, maybe here and with the opposite direction. It should goes like this. And we also can increase this mass. And let's save our result. And now it's effect on this wall. And we have, if we have this glue effect inside, it means the shape is still for this rigid solver. We can change little bit glue effect. Uh, in the bullet rigid set initial state, we can change this max constraint maybe and less glue shape. And let's see. With less glue shape, we have starting falling down this crack. Maybe we can animate this glue threshold when our object touch this wall, we can decrease this glue intense. For example, on the let's start from the 10th frame. We can set we can increase this tolerance, set key, and in the 10th frame we can set keys to remember, and in the second frame we can decrease this max tolerance and set key. And now If it's touches, it breaks. Maybe we can even make it less. Something like this. For example, and you should work with this timeline and calculate the time of this breaking. For example, change position of this case or increase the impulse and speed of this object of this sphere. Now it's something like um, we can increase the speed for this sphere by changing some impulse. Here we have some bullet rigid body shape too. This is our sphere. And here is some dynamic attributes. We can increase this force. Now it's crashed and smash this object. But before you create this shutter effect, you should work on the object's textures. Because when you crack these objects, it's difficult to assign some good materials for them because of this bullet rigid body solver already created, and we can't affect on this object texture. And that's why you should first create the object, and after that you should crack this object. After that you should create some physics on it and play with the simulation and objects after. Okay, we can create some new file and start with the textures. For example, we are going to have some brick wall, and we should assign some bricks on this wall. Texture with bricks. Let's assign new material. We can use some Lambert, download some bricks. So with some JPEG format, and we can assign this texture. Let's switch on some textures. I think we have really heavy textures, that's why it's not working. Let's see some settings from this photo. Maybe we can use some screenshot. Okay, it works. By the default, Cube has some UVs. You can change some UV settings for this object. We can create automatic mapping, maybe. And we can unfold these objects. And we can use some layout UVs. We can orient this shell. And after that we can lay out this one. And now it's better for the texturing. Maybe we can rotate UVs. Okay, we've done with some textures, and now we can shutter this wall. Let's save. And we are going to use some solid shutter. If you want to create some more count of this shutter, for example, you can use some increase this shard count. You can triangulate it. You can create. Before creating some shutter effect, don't forget to use some edit delete type by history. If you not delete the history, shutter effect will not work. And now we can create this shutter effect. Sometimes it takes some time to calculate these cracks. Now it's cracks, and inside of these pieces we have this yellow material. For this yellow material, you can also assign the same texture if you want, or you can color this texture with some colors. I'm going to use the same texture, and let's check. Inside of this shutter material, we can increase place the texture with some repeating UVs, for example, and you can maybe create something almost as these cracks. You can use some bricks or you can use some color from this brick for this inside materials. Okay, when we've done we can do a game, and before you use some bullet physics, you should place your objects. when when you assign some bullet physics, you can't move and you can scale your object. That's why you should prepare everything before, prepare your stand before you use some bullet physics. And now we can assign, we can select every pieces in this part, and we can assign the same rigid set. We can open in the bullet solver, we can open the bullet rigid set initial state. Inside of the collisions, let's change it to the whole. Decrease this margin. For the initial state, we are going to use some glue shape, and now it's working. The second, we also need to create some plane. We should apply some passive collider to this plane, change it to the plane, decrease this shape margin, and now it's work. But we should change some position of this plane before assign some physics on it. And let's check. We can increase glue thickness. It's really difficult to put some planes in exact position for this physics. Here is some position. Let's make it after feet. We can use ground plane instead of this plane, for example. Maybe we can try to use some ground plane. This work is actually simple, but with these grounds and some physics, it's sometimes difficult. Maybe we can change some position of this object and align it on the grid. Let's snap it to the grid. Maybe it will help. And let's again select our set. Now it's false. And here is in the bullet initial state, we have this ground plane. Maybe, yes, it's use this like a plane, but our pieces is falls down. Let's decrease this glue shape. It's You can use this initial sleeping. Maybe it helps. Now it's still and not falling. Let's continue do with this work. Okay. Next we are going to assign some plane, ground plane. Let's assign here the passive rigid body with the plane without margin. Okay, everything still. And let's continue with some sphere. The sphere will be our object. And we are going to add to the sphere active rigid body. Change it to the sphere. Again, everything falls. Okay, let's come back. Let's save and check. Now it's still and we have this rigid body. No one falling. Why when we add some sphere everything falls? Okay, passive rigid body was active rigid body. When we add, everything falls. Okay, nothing was changed. Okay, we need to add some inputs. And here is some collision filters. Maybe we can use these filters. For example, this plane, static filter. This one is also can be static. Everything falls. And also, we don't have collisions with the plane. Maybe you also can watch some tutorials how they set this bullet physics. For example, for this glass shutter. And maybe you can find some settings for the better collisions. Sorry. Now it's much better, I think, with the initial velocity. Now we can change some glue on our bullet shader. Now it works much better. Maybe we can watch some playblast. Less than a few seconds. Okay. Maybe we can put it further and now see how it touches. Okay, it's almost work. And second one, if you want to use some glass for the shutter effect, there is some tips and tricks, especially works with the glass. It's almost the same, but when we assign some glass material on this wall, for example, uh, we are going to see some cracks before it breaks. Let's see if we have some glass material on this bullet rigid. Maybe I can assign some new material for this one. And let's work with the glass. To the Arnold render, we are going to use some standard surface. One second. Let's continue. And let's imagine that we have some glass. Maybe we can create some new file and made the same with the glass. Glass is the thinner, and we also can delete history and create some cracks on it. We can use some solid shutter and break this glass. And we can assign some material on these shapes. And also, if you see these glitches on the shading, you can change some harden edge on it. And after that, we can apply some new material. Assign new material. We are going to use some Arnold standard surface. And in Arnold standard surface, we can use preset our glass replace. еще ветер поднялся. This is some storm outside. Okay, we have some glass settings. Thank you for closing. Let's let's continue. And now, if we have some glass material on it, let's add some light to see some renders. And if we open some render, now with the glass settings, we can see these cracks. And that's why before we smash this object, we can use some animation. We can use the duplicated glass without cracks, which is identically. We can scale it down and create the same copy of this glass, or we can leave duplicated one before we crack this. And assign the same glass material. Let's assign glass material on this P cube, the same glass material. And now we can animate and hide this object before it's touched with some sphere. For example, we can hide this shutter glass, and for example, in this state, it can be our first glass, and when it touch with some object, we can unhide with animation this shutter effect. Maybe we can use some skybox on Arnold render. Муж говорит, там у нас, он на 21 этаже, там страшно, шатает от ветра, как будто землетрясение. Okay, let's download HTML. Может быть, вы сядете подальше от окон, на всякий случай? Что думаете? Что-то страшно. На всякий случай лучше подальше. Опять. Now you can see this shattering glass, and if you want to break this glass after affection on it, and we can use this second duplicated object and make some animation on the visibility of these objects. We can hide and unhide these sets. For example, if we hide this shutter effect, assign material on the cube,